Salutations, curse breakers. I am Coach TC, and welcome to the introduction session to the upcoming Lunch and Learn series titled Pandora's Box Briefings. This is where we shall learn to contour a magical awareness around the tarot treasure trove, The Wild Unknown by Kim Krans. Here is where we will explore the entire tarot deck alongside its guidebook as a self-coaching tool and a portal to Temet Nos, which means to know thyself. This shall be in addition to us engaging in a new love language immersion practice. Also, we can become better acquainted with the fundamentals of tarot for the soul's purpose of utilizing one's direct connect to its celestial sources, which shall be the primary purpose of this series. My facilitating this series doubles to further my own self-based lessons of inner healing and self-actualization, especially as I tap into the full stretch of Jupiter being in Capricorn from December 3rd all the way up until December 2020. So as we begin this session, I will guide us into an overview of Pandora's box. Now, according to Google, let's see here. Metaphorically speaking, Pandora's box is known as a process that generates many complicated problems as the result of unwise interference in something. Keeping this in mind, I dedicate this particular session as the Thanksgiving edition. While stitching it to this context. The Pilgrims traded in their good book for the natives' magical wands and wisdoms. And quite honestly, that was the moment when the natives were thrown into the wild unknown. On August 18th of this year, I had the urge to begin researching Dr. Reverend Charles Colclock. Is it Cole? No, it's Colclock. Colclock. I always tear his name up. Dr. Reverend Charles Colcock Jones. Colcock. In his How to Make a Negro Christian, as well as the reprinting of the religious instruction of the Negroes and as well as the other works of Dr. Reverend Charles. Now in August, when I initially began the research and development, it was mainly to find out about the historical barriers of religiosity versus existential rites of passage. Trying to figure out how I can further unpack that so that it can gauge the bridge beyond the doubt, the emotional drought, the fear, and the judgment that my cultural denomination has been dealing with since 18, let's see what we got here, 1838, which is when How to Make a Negro Christian was published. So, Fast forward up until maybe 3 or 4 days ago. Oh, I have the day here. Actual November 23rd. Yeah, 3 or 4 days ago. It popped back into my head to continue to do my research and development along these lines, but co-join it with several readings that will begin to render insight and wisdom surrounding this 188-year cycle. And so I've deemed these readings multi-gener. Hold up, let me slow down. I've deemed these readings efforts, contributions into reversing the curse of multi-generational agendas. Keeping in mind that the very solid agenda, like the creme de la creme or the grand poobah of agendas, was to take over the land and make the law of the land to outlaw any worship outside of the powers that be, ultimately deeming the natives criminals. So to be sacredly inclined to anything outside of the leading religiosity amongst the land of the Americas was outlawed. Hence, all sorts of levels of inquisition. And just a couple of points and clicks, you really can get the true unfold. Well, I don't know if it's the absolute true unfolding, but you can get an outline, an idea of what the major inquisitions were about, as well as the subsequent inquisitions, and how so much was burned and rewritten and stitched together and killed and demolished, all for the sake of social strata and the maneuvering of the masses with regards to mentality and personality and the stomping of emotionality. So, with all of that said, Pandora's box is a part of my truth. With it being part of my truth, it took me a while to clear my energies and center myself to tap into the energy of this reading. While preparing for the reading, I bumped into Nietzsche and the monumental, the infamous master mortality versus slave mortality debate, all surrounded around morale, which is not necessarily a existential component, if you will. Morality truly is based on social conditioning. So to say that each society has its own stretch of what's morale, what is considered good and evil. Hence, master morality, slave morality. Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to deem which side my people have generationally found themselves on. And so as I'm walking into 2020, I am feverishly being engaged with all sorts of thoughts that are popping into my mind for contemplation. It's almost like the divine is telling me, okay, I need you to tap into this and pay attention to this and render your thoughts around this. And then I need you to process that, come to grips with that, and then spill that over into this that you'll need to tap into, ponder, process, consider. And then once you do all of that, tap into that one, and then pull out, extract all that makes sense to you, and then infuse it and twine it into all that you already know and what you feel about just you as an individual. Take notes, reconcile those notes, then do a reading, and then record how you feel, and then post it into the public domain, and just let folks have at it. See where it goes. Through all of that, and this is what has been happening um, concentratively over the last, I want to say, 30 days. It's been unfolding nicely with much respect to just the way that I process things, but still it's been coming in uh, at a swift pace nonetheless. Yesterday, I believe, day before yesterday, kind of in the midst of toggling with my awareness of certain synchronicities and timelines. So some things feel further than others. Hence the reason why I time and date stamp everything. There are some things that feel like it happened a month ago, and I look at the date and it literally was just 5, 6, 7, 8 days ago. So I know my awareness is being at its most flexible right now because I am tapping into so many things. I'm tapping into them. I'm pulling things out, coming back in real time, and situating and contouring and organizing and etc. etc. So all of that to say that, especially with me being inside of my own novice phase of understanding tarot, mainly for myself. So what I am about to share is intimate and intricate details involving my own road to self-actualization, my own time and space to redeem my emotionality and take back my existential rights to pass through the chaotic portions of what I consider generational curses amongst my cultural denomination. And I'm not sure about anyone else that'll come across this recording, but for me personally, it has ached my soul for more years than I am willing to disclose in this particular moment of the bottom of the totem pole situations that my people continue to find themselves in. And how is it that we can't seem to collectively gain the deeply rooted nectar that is rightfully ours? And I say it with no shade. I say it with no sarcasm. Like, there's a preponderance of evidence that supports me saying that the pilgrims arrived and they gave the natives the good book in exchange for their wands and their wisdom. And so now I look at my folks that seem to be so full of religiosity and scared, and I mean scared shitless, of the magical realms that are rightfully theirs. And so on the phone with Terry yesterday, it hit me. It hit both of us actually. And so I just started to ramble, like it just all started to come out where more and more I am finding out that my cultural denomination is the only portion of people within the Americas that are slow to learn firsthand the love language of tarot, astrology, psychology, emotional intelligence, mythology. And I know there are more, but those are the ones that I'm contending with immediately right now, and how it taps into the master morality versus the slave morality, and how it has been 188 years. So, in light of it being the turn of the century, I immediately went into agreement when the notion popped in for me to align my learning process of the wild unknown with the intrinsic intention to find out some answers, some clues, some cues that could be utilized to bring resolve, to reverse some of these morality curses. Tapping into this energy, my collarbone is under so much pressure. I've never felt this before. And I know I'm in the midst of it because before I attempted to tap into it, my collarbone was fine. My shoulders are, yeah, I can feel I can feel the weight on my shoulders. So much so that I wasn't even going to do the reading because I physically feel heavy from the shoulders down. The base of my shoulder blades are so tense. And before it it said keep going, I was going to gather up the cards and just try tomorrow. And so now saying this right now, realizing that even if I would have done that, come tomorrow, tapping into this energy would have resulted in the same thing. So now I understand what it means to feel the energies when you tap into certain phenomena to read it. This goes in conjunction with the fear that I felt when the cards were coming out, that I had to remind myself that it's not about me. The little bit of information that I am in discovery with for the last 90 days surrounding my language immersion practices around my tarot treasures, the knowledge of my tarot treasures in regards to the discovery of self. All of the cards that I often fear, even when I'm just a tarot spectator on YouTube, came out in this reading. So it's 8 cards and a theme card. I pulled the theme card first, not knowing that it was a theme card, but it was the first card out, and it said, "This is the theme." And I said, "Okay." So, gave direction for me to put it to the side. And this is a combination of me sensing certain things and me actually hearing in my inner voice instruction for how to place the cards and what to do. So, first card out, sensed that it needed to go to the side, so I put it to the side. As a matter of fact, I took a photo. I usually do um, take photos of the card placement after it's all said and done so that I can attach it to the recording so that those that come across it will have a solid visual of what I am speaking about. So it will be at the end of the recording. And what we're going to do while we are unfolding this over the next few weeks inside the Pandora box briefings is I got the notion to ask those that would like to participate, especially the active enrollees. You do have to enroll to get the inside conversation that goes on Wednesdays between 12 and 2. And so the way we're going to do this is that I'm going to pull cards and it will be attached to the recording, which will contribute my perceptions, thoughts, insights, wisdoms around what I pulled. And then the following week, at the beginning, we're going to usher in the next session with an open dialogue around what it is that you have found to be substantial as it regards to your perception, your insight, your wisdoms, what it is that you are learning and discovering to see if we can broaden the conversation so that it can not necessarily be a one size fit all, but it will have an omniversal feel to it where you may not agree with what's unfolding 100%, but somewhere in there you find something, some nook, some cranny, some seed that can begin cultivating a refreshed awareness, a newer awareness, or an infused awareness. So, with all that said, I would like to also say, let's real quick, I would also like to say that as these sessions get underway, it is strongly recommended that you have your own deck and guidebook. Inside the keynotes of this recording, I will put the link to Amazon for you to check out The Wild Unknown. Right now, they have it inside of a keepsake box where you get the deck and the guidebook together. Because also, the way that it's going is that I am inviting you to pull the cards and lay them out in front of you and ponder it firsthand. Ponder the live cards. Remember, in a I want to say a segment, I'm trying to think oh my goodness, it's escaping me. Let me think. Let me think. Da, 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 da. Yeah, it's escaping me right now. I can't remember if it's inside of if it's the last installment I made for the Journey by Heart series. Anywho, you'll hear it now, and you probably will hear it if you continue to either rock with this series or you are tapping into the Journey by Heart series, where I say that the learning of tarot for the knowledge of one's own self is like purchasing a cell phone to the celestial. Learning how to read tarot for one's own benefit of self discovery is like having a cell phone, a direct connect, direct communications to one's celestial bodies. And I'm very, very happy that I was obedient in the urges of me getting the Wild Unknown as the fundamental deck and guidebook. Not only is it a gorgeous deck and its hand craftings, the drawings are handcrafted. It's very interesting the summaries that go along with each card. So I'm going to read the introduction of the guidebook to usher in clarity, as well as pay perfect homage to the author of the deck and the guidebook, Kim Krantz. So on page 9, drawing the tarot. I've been drawing with intense detail since a young age. It's the single thing that brings me absolute focus and clarity of the mind. It's been rumored that I can draw a perfect circle while riding a horse. I'll leave that to the myth. But I will say I don't use rulers or tools of any kind. It's simply that when I draw, my mind and hand are steady, clear, accurate. In most other areas of my life, my mind is scattered. It's frantic, worried, and busy, busy, busy. During the last few years, this anxiety reached a level I could hardly manage. Yet still, when my drafting table, yet still, when at my drafting table, I was steady. What was that about? How could it be? This led me down a path of inquisition, of self study. It brought me directly to meditation, visualization, and many other forms of self healing and self awareness. And somewhere along this far out lineage of chakras and Sanskrit, I was introduced to the tarot. Though completely intrigued by the concepts of the cards, I had trouble finding a deck I could relate to. I wanted the imagery to speak to the world of wild nature and mystery, a place where the darks are truly dark and the lights are bright and expansive. I knew my friends and their friends will want this too, a tarot deck to call their own. But I quickly noticed that the realm of tarot is a confusing and intimidating place. There are a lot of contradicting voices out there about the use of cards and what they mean. So much so that at several points I almost gave up drawing the deck. I felt as though I just couldn't do it. You'll probably come up against these feelings too as you start to give readings to yourself or others, doubts, fears, I can't do this, I don't know enough. Well, here's the thing, you do know enough. You've been a person on earth every day since you were born. You've experienced all the emotions and situations these cards depict. Quiet the naysayer. Don't let it prevent you from sitting down with a friend or yourself and using these cards to help talk about what's going on in your life. It will be positive. It will be radical. You'll find things you'll find things start to reveal themselves through the cards that had been hidden away, covered with dust. May these cards bring you moments of peace and steadiness. I would be so honored. Kim Crane. I just absolutely love that introduction. And so going on into the book, the next section is Understanding the Deck. And it starts off with the major arcana. Known as the Tarot's trump cards, the 22 major arcana cards signify a complete journey of the psyche. They are the archetypes we carry within ourselves, the characters or themes that hold us back and set us free. These cards usually indicate deeply rooted issues within our lives. The journey of the major arcana begins with the Fool, numbered 0, and end with the World, numbered 21. Take your time getting to know these 22 cards. They are extremely powerful and should not be taken lightly in your readings. The minor arcana. Together, the suits of wands, cups, swords, and pentacles make up what's called the minor arcana. There are 14 cards within each suite or suit. Is it suit? Suite, suit. I'm losing it right now. The word doesn't look right. Huh? Okay. Cards numbered 1 through 10 usually point to a situation or quality you're experiencing. The 11th through 14th card, known as the court cards, often represent an actual person in your life. Minor arcana cards are minor arcana cards help bring depth and complexity to a reading, giving context to the more dominant major arcana cards. You'll find more about the characteristics that define each of the four suits in the following pages. The wands. Ruled by the element of fire, the wands represent inspiration and creativity. They relate to our ambitions, goals, and dreams. They mark the beginning of all ventures within the mind and spirit. Many wands in the reading indicates the situation resides mostly in the mind, not yet in the external world. Cups. The cups. Cups are the suit of emotion. They address the quality of our relationships and connections to others. They speak of love, friendship, and all that's in between. The suit of cups is ruled by the element of water. Several cups cards indicate the situation mostly involves the heart. The swords. The swords are the suite of action and intellect ruled by the element of air. These dynamic cards address change, conflict, and power. They point to constructive and destructive tendencies within us all. A reading dominated by swords indicates a situation of turmoil and distress. The Pentacles. The suit of worldly possessions. The Pentacles often speak to issues involving our home, money, or career. They reflect upon our generosity and greed. Pentacles are ruled by the earth element. When many appear in a reading, it means the focus is on material things like property, income, or the home. The court cards. The cards numbered 11 through 14 in each of the minor arcana suits are called the court cards. In many decks, they're named the Page, Knight, Queen, and King. I chose a common variation that ties into our family system: the daughter, son, mother, and father. This offers an immediate connection to the cards, allowing you to easily and intuitively link each character to someone you know. Unlike all the other tarot cards, the court cards typically represent people, not situations. They can be very hard to interpret, especially at first, so be patient. Here's a simple and very generalized guide to get you started. The Wands family, a vibrant and well-loved family. They make dangerous enemies, usually lighter skin and hair. The Cups family, artistic, open-minded, quiet. A family of dreamers with lighter skin and hair. The Swords family, well-educated and highly receptive. Not necessarily a warm family, usually dark skin and dark hair. The Pentacles family, very grounded, deeply connected to nature and the home, may have darker hair and eyes. It's very interesting. That part of it I did not know. Um, so, and it's I have been teaching myself tarot. This deck and guidebook is my very first. Much that I have already learned has been through commentary of other readers and what I've been able to find out online. So the association, because here's what's really interesting, where I may just beg to differ a bit um, with the, the court families. I mostly associated with the fire, the elementals, the magics, the powers, the wisdom, the archetypal characteristics of the elementals. So wands being fire, cups being water, swords being air, pentacles being earth. I had no idea that it had anything to do with lighter skin, darker skin, hair, eye color, any of that. So that's just my sidebar from um, just my personal opinion. Which I will say that tarot cards, as well as the interpretation, is truly within the eyes of the beholder. And so in my experience, I'm finding out there really is no right and wrong with how you interpret them, how you explain them, how you comprehend them. I think the more broader strokes of one's understanding comes by way of dealing with a multitude of decks and guidebooks. And I've been learning that the um, with the 12 tarot readers that I like to call Tarot Treasure Trove Teachers that I frequent on YouTube. I'm not sure what I would do without them. They have been a major part of my scholarship and how they interpret the cards and their relationship with the cards. I even watch how they handle the cards, and it's been amazing to see how different people do different things. There is still a common denominator with regards to how they interpret, but some will give more detail into their understanding. Some will bring it into conjunction with stories and how it has related to them personally. So it's been a delight allowing my scholarship to unfold. So I will take the this last bit on page 39 called the last thoughts before we actually get into the cards that um, reveal themselves in conjunction with the master morality versus the slave morality. 188 years, people. Interesting. Okay, so let's read this. Last thoughts. If you believe your tarot cards can reveal truths to you, then treat them kindly. Build a relationship with them that is respectful. Spend time with them, especially at first. Look through the imagery and handle the cards daily. Keep your deck in a special spot in your house when not in use. Do not leave them strewn around. If your roomie or friend wants to borrow your deck often, consider gifting them their own. Tarot decks respond best to one person. Be sensitive to how you feel when you handle the cards. Allow the ritual of using them to be positive, exploratory, and fun. The ideal time to use the cards is when your mind feels open and clear. If your cards are exposed to a negative situation or person, take some time afterwards to clear the air and reconnect. Light sage, light up sage, shuffle them, and get lost in the imagery. May your journey into tarot be peaceful and bright. So here we go, folks, into the wild unknown. So like I mentioned earlier, this is an 8-card spread with the 9th card being the theme or the overall energy of the spread. So we're going to start with the overall energy of the spread, which is the 5 of Pentacles. On page 142 and 143. 5 of Pentacles is an association with sadness, worry, illness. The 5 of Pentacles is a card of hard times. It may come in the form of an illness, job loss, financial trouble, or rejection. Above all this, there will be worry, so much worry. This anxiety is counterproductive and damaging. You must first find a way to quiet the mind during this difficult time. Rely on meditation or visualization to find peace. Overall energy, 5 of Pentacles. And remember, like I said, I had to separate myself from the reading because of the heavy cards that will be bought before you. And as they were coming out, I wanted to stop the reading. I'm not sure why I expected a reading that would give me clues and cues in conjunction to the master morality versus the slave morality to be joyful and light and full of light. I have no idea. Especially with me being a shadow worker, like I understand and have wholeheartedly accepted my place as a shadow interpreter. as a hood shadow interpreter. And I've never really truly been scared of the shadow. I'm a Capricorn sun. Like the root chakra down in the dungeon is where a lot of my contemplations dwell naturally. Now, I could and have. Let me keep it real. Let me keep it 1,000. I have shunned myself and have felt so out of place, especially I want to say in the last 10 years, now that we've stepped into this ultra light, ultra positive realm. It took me a while to not feel so ashamed and wanting to shrink myself because of the things that I was naturally migrating towards to research and develop. So, most often, when you research and you develop it, that's more than likely what it is that you're going to talk about. And off the regular, off the routine, folks don't want to deal with their shadow selves. They don't want to deal with the shadow side of the situation. No, 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 no. They will hop, skip, and jump anything that makes them feel bad. They don't want to sit with it. They don't, let alone want to analyze it, look it in its face, and taking up that type of perception. I began to realize that I was running from myself, and I had to stop. Was it an agonizing process? Yes, it was. Yes, it was. But I think that we have to begin to face it, which is a perfect segue into me gaining a firm understanding of why the very first spread would be as dark as it is. Because when we think about, or I'll just say me, seeing is that I am the one recording it and it is the very first session, I will be quite interested at how many folks will actually rock with it, sustain their courage to sit with it, analyze it, face it, and look it in the eyes and find out what's good. Because in my honest opinion, only then will the last be first. The bottom of the totem pole is where my cultural denomination will remain if it does not begin to look its own natural magic in the face, genuinely say, I see you, embrace it, own it, utilize it. And I believe until the day I transcend, I am going to be walking in the notion that they have our wands. And I say they just to keep it simple. Because one thing I know for certain is that there are more people that don't look like me that are going in for readings. They are learning tarot. They are understanding this language. They're finding power in it. They seek it. They utilize it. They yield it. They love it. Hence the reason why my cultural denomination stays on the bottom of the fucking totem pole. Because we run from it. We're scared of it. Ooh, Mufasa. The master mortality versus the slave mortality. 188 years. From 1838 going into 2020. So, the very first card of the reading, and I'm telling you, when it first came out, I withdrew. I withdrew. I became so sad. Every card that scares me came out. Well, not every of them, not all of them, but yeah. So, first card is the Ten of Swords, Ruin, Rock Bottom, Melodrama, on page 122 and 123 of the guidebook. When the Ten of did I say Ten of Swords or Ten of Wands? I apologize. I didn't lost track that quick. Ten of Swords. When the Ten of Swords appears, you've finally hit rock bottom. You've let others walk all over you while you play the victim. Is it possible that you love the backstabbing and drama too much to move forward without it? If not for drama, what would you focus on? It's time to find out. I told you it was going to be a hard read. Next card out. Seven of Swords. On page 116, 117. Secrecy, self-interest. Six swords hang in plain view while the seventh is tucked under the sly fox's tail. So goes the story of the Seven of Swords. A secret is being kept. Go figure. You're either the keeper or the kept from, and it's time to identify which. Deceit and avoidance linger in the air. Face the cause of secrecy or risk ostracizing yourself. I'm trying to tell you. And remember, these are messages for the collective. And one thing that I have quickly found out with regards to interpreting tarot, that if you hear anything inside of a reading that triggers you, you must halt, figure out, get down to the bottom of why you are triggered, and then proceed. And so I know, dealing with the overall energy and just two cards in, if you have not researched the origination of your religion, if you are a religious person, or you haven't honed into what it really means for you to be spiritual, or you haven't tapped into that which is considered existential valuing, then you may want to start there first. If you don't believe that there is such thing as a master morality as well as a slave morality, and that certain social stratas are divided as such, then you might want to start there and then come back. So we will move on to the third card, which is the Three of Wands, on page 48 and 49. The Three of Wands, envisioning the future. The Three of Wands indicates you've had continued support from others, perhaps from your parents or two good friends. With their help, you've formed a sense of self, of your values and morals. But now it's time to rely on yourself for guidance. Clarify your goals and cast others' needs and opinions aside. The future is infinite, and it's yours. No one else can see through its layers of light and shadow. The fourth card is the see, where are we? The fourth card, and I'm still learning. Okay, so the fourth card is the Nine of Swords. Dark visions, anguish. An extremely dark card. The Nine of Swords reveals the deepest shadows of the self. It indicates insomnia, nightmares, and worries in the midnight hour. Often these states are accompanied by guilt, despair, and even depression. You'll be battling with yourself, so turn to others for help. Find joy, reach out. The fifth card of the spread is the Hanged Man, which is on page 188 and 189. The Hanged Man, sacrifice, letting go. Many people talk about the art of letting go, but what does it mean really? How do you achieve it? The Hanged Man has all the answers. He's the master of non attachment. This card implies there's a sacrifice or a difficult or painful situation coming up in your life. Though you naturally want to resist and struggle through it, be more like the Hanged Man. Find stillness, open your eyes, and use this new perspective to learn something. You're stuck either way. The sixth card is the Son of Cups on page 96 and 97. The Son of Cups, artistic introspective. Like all of the family, sorry. Like all of the Cups family, the son truly excels within the arts. He's usually a musician or a visual artist of some kind, and he finds success within his field. His natural tendency to look inward adds to his charm and mystique. To others, he may seem secretive and even peaceful, while deep inside he carries a dark kernel of intensity. The seventh card out is the Three of Swords. This card just shakes my core every time it comes up in a reading. On page 108 and 109, Three of Swords, betrayal, heartbreak, turmoil. A dark and complex card. The Three of Swords is really a welcome sight. Its wrath may come in the form of lies, betrayal, cheating, or heartbreak. There will be emotional entanglement and confusion. Do not try to make any decisions while in this state. Wait for your heart and spirit to mend. And the last card is the Son of Wands, which is on page 66 and 67. Son of Wands, charming, adventurous. The Son of Wands is a true charmer. He's handsome and adventurous and seems to say all the right things. Some call him the White Knight of the Tarot, but at some point you may find he becomes hard to know. Trust your instinct with this one. Perfection is an illusion. Wow. Hmm. Okay. So, with all of that said, now remember, I am dedicating this as the Thanksgiving edition. Thanksgiving in the Americas is tomorrow, November 28th, 2019. I am recording this on Thanksgiving Eve. I'm very happy that I rocked through it. My collarbone and my spine is very weighty right now. I know I'm going to have to do something very special to clear this energy up off of me, but I'm happy that I tapped into it and remain diligent with carrying this through. As I said before, I am quite intrigued by how many will step into this and decide themselves a questmate to reversing the curse of 188 years of what has been cloaked as religion. I will say, if you have not already been, what can I say, tapped, if you have not already been intrinsically tapped on the shoulder to say begin investigating this or researching and developing around this, then 9 times out of 10, this will not be the series for you. But if you have, and you happen to be tapping into, turning into, tuning into, turning onto the specialty of multi generational agendas around how to make a Christian Negro. And like I say, there is no shade involved in this. All of my family are Negro Christians. And even if they are not officially, the residue, the hue, the hues, the varying colors by which it exists has spilled over, has bled over into the raising of human beings inside of my lineage. And not all were cool with it. But for the sake of not wanting to be disrespectful, for the sake of not wanting to rock the boat, for this hideous thing called implied consent, most things were just left by the wayside to the point where, because one could not firmly and confidently stand up to say, I'm not really into that, for the sake of being shunned or ridiculed, they would just quietly remove themselves from the entire family. It's very interesting how my life is set up and how it is that I am knee deep in all sorts of lopsided ass judgments, and yet I continue to go toward that which is calling me from my inner ear, and then challenging me to have the courage to research it, develop it, and speak about it. So here we are. Here we are. If you find yourselves along this journey with me, then I'm pretty sure as I was reading the summaries associated with the cards, you could see somehow, some way, in some shape, form, or fashion, how it's going to unfold a bigger picture that I think that truly is beyond my imagination. Naturally, I want to brace myself, but I know that I have to lean into it like bamboo and be open and flexible with whatever clues and cues I come across, and without judgment, just allow it to speak to me. So with that said, I am going to end it on a more lighter note and say that Jupiter enters Capricorn December 3rd and will stay in Capricorn until December 2020. It's a balance. Excuse me. It's a balance of sorts. It's the energy is the offspring of Jupiter and Saturn. So it's like a jolly taskmaster. It's where the oxymoron blends inside the meridian. It's the beautiful blend of what's usually not blendable. It's almost like the endorsement, the cheerleading endorser of us learning about the wild unknown, but not for it to drag us down or make us feel unworthy, but the complete opposite. The opening of Pandora's box. Most often, when the story is told, everyone always leaves out the fact that hope was also in that box, which constantly historically confirms how we naturally focus on the bad stuff and then run. We never face it long enough to see what's in the bottom of the box. Hope is in the bottom of the box. No, I am not one who figures that hope is overrated, because in any situation, as long as I've been on this earth, that I've ever analyzed, the saving grace had hope wrapped around, yeah, it was cloaked in hope. From the rooter to the tutor, hope was infused somewhere in there. How else can you stand for that which is yet seen or has yet to manifest? If it's not hope, yeah, I'm curious to find out what it is. And it also strikes me as remarkable that hope was the only non treacherous element in the box, which lets me know that it is strong enough to carry the weight of its own all by itself. So, with that said, I am ushering in and inviting and welcoming hope to take precedence in this space, in these moments where we stand to unlock certain mysteries and clarities so that we do not have to step into the turn of yet another century under a morality that keeps folks that look like me on the bottom of the totem pole. So thank you so much for joining me. It has truly been a delight, and I wish you well in the wild unknown.